Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. RJ and I have had a crazy 20 minutes here already, and I don't know how to start this, RJ. Hey, look, you know what I'm going to do? I don't even the title of this, We Are Sand Hourglass. What is the Lord thinking? Because, I just sit around and it's like, then all of a sudden it's like, the title is, and I go like, okay, oh, finally I got a title. And then you couldn't get hooked up. You got the bad link or something. Hey, for some reason, I want to show you. Look, I'm going to take a puff here of something that 30 years ago could have ended up with a man in jail for 20 years because they said taking a puff of herb that contains THC is a class 3 felony or something.
Well, you can smoke it as long as you don't inhale it, right? Yeah.
Oops. Too late. I have to show the disclaimer and stuff, RJ. So hold
Good
on.
idea.
You know what I'm going to do is just show the disclaimer like this. You see it?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I have pictures. Wait. You know what I do? I think that when I start these, I have to go to the last one. I had to edit this because the quality was too much, so I had to crop it. That's sand, RJ.
Okay.
It's a body part. All rocks are body parts, everyone. I've been saying it for a while now. Hey, I know how to find platinum now. I read this article. Oh, wait, I already knew how to find platinum. And I already knew that, like gold, when it was reserved in judgment by the Barak, that's Hebrew for the glittering sword, it was in flux, it was in motion, it was sending signals. The ones that indicted Noah's flood that would have thought, oh, I wish I would have listened to Noah. Was this really worth it? This is what rain is? Wow, I'm wet. And then Barak, the glittering sword. They're all caught in motion, thinking something. And this is, I guess, if this fell off, you see, this is what it's connected there. The brown part is called the matrix, RJ. And this is something
Mhm.
on the matrix. I can't pronounce it. Prefecture or no, Adamstone. Adamstone. Yeah, so I looked up Adamstone too, and I got a bunch of pictures of sand. It just looked weird. It looked like not what I expected sand to look like. And not all sand looks like this. This is only some sand. Well, that's weird, RJ. That looks very geometrical. That looks like
Oh
a
yeah.
star. And I saw a video, no kidding, from John Levy. Hi, everybody, it's me, John Levy, talking about protozoa and how the sand was like star forts. Because I'm pretty sure I talked about I've shown sand before and talked about it, and if they're going to get a good idea, it started right here. They look like little corn on the cob right there.
So this is magnified. How much?
300 times.
Okay.
Look at this one. That and in here is where you're going to see that fuzzy little olivine gemstones. I know that if you crack that open, it's going to be crystal like. I've seen it before. I got Scott Hahn on my mind today. I know a man that when we had just, we were doing college and Bible study, Jill and Kurt Bennett, son of the headmaster of Christian Liberty Academy, where I ended up working for 15 years, they went to a Bible study with another young man. We were young once. I look like this guy now. But he was teaching about, maybe, and this was at Hillsdale College or one of those No, it was the other one, but it's the all reformed college. They don't take any money. Uh, and he was teaching Rome covertly. And this is what I saw a guy, Protestant claim used to be convincing to me, not anymore. And they're like, okay, I'm going to look at it. Click on it. Not a robot, it's a human. This man was a reformed, reformed means Luther or John Calvin. You're either a Lutheran or a Presbyterian. And he was one for 35 years. And now look at his house. Mary, Jesus, Rome. He is so happy that he found Scott Hahn. And I'm thinking, like, wow, I've known about Scott Hahn since the 80s. So this man, the guy I just showed you, this guy said, this is what he believed for 30 years. RJ, can you read that for me and tell me if you find anything wrong with it?
You want me to just read it to myself or what?
No, read it out loud for everybody.
Quote, at the moment, the Roman Catholic Church condemned the biblical doctrine of justification by faith alone. She denied the gospel and ceased to be a legitimate church, regardless of all the rest of her affirmations of Christian orthodoxy.
For all
And
of
that's,
our,
and
yeah,
that's an R.C. Sproul
yep,
quote.
yep. Ligonier Ministries,
Yeah, I'm familiar with that cat also. Yeah.
right. I mean, before the mud flood short season theology came out, and thank you, God, for letting me be a part of it. Thank him for letting RJ be a part of it. This was what I thought was the highest, you know, the reformed faith, we've rightly divided the truth. And sorry, Rome, you're out. But not so much anymore. You know, this is the video that I woke up to, about 5 o'clock this morning. I was just like, hey, I'll watch some of this, I guess, because I was waiting for the title. Look, I did highlight this as something from called the New Frontier. It's like the New Deal that John Kennedy, he said this in it. My call is to the young at heart, regardless of age. Can we carry through in an age where we will witness not only new breakthroughs in weapons of destruction, but also for a mastery of the sky and the rain? Huh, that's weird. It's a weird thing to say, don't you think?
Yeah. Who
Is there,
knows?
is
Yeah.
there anything I never even heard of the Cheshire Moon? What in the world? What? What is this? What is the smiling new moon we have, RJ? Is this real?
Depending on your uh, vantage point, yeah, the it appears as though twists and yeah, I don't know if I've actually
Here's what I'm
witnessed that
kind of used
myself.
to.
But
I guess I was. I guess I was used to this. I know it had that
yeah,
little wobble. The moon had that little wobble for
that
about,
slight rotation.
yeah, where it
Yeah.
kind of clocks it a little bit, but it doesn't go full smiley face. Anyway, this
Well,
is,
who knows how that picture? Some things can be deceiving. I don't know.
you must have said something wrong on this video, RJ. It, it's removed and I repealed it and they said no, it can't be shown. So there was something called God Does Keep Score, mud flood centric. Well, nobody can see that anymore. Sorry. It's the way it goes. They said no. And then when they say no, they mean
Well,
it.
how recent was that one, or what?
It was last week. I
Okay.
think you were in. Maybe it was longer. You might have been in Florida. Hey, an entire road collapsed, RJ, in Sicily. It- the
Oh, from
the
being pounded.
Yeah, they had one of those Hurricane Helene things. Now they're destroyed. But when the road collapsed
Yeah,
and
it's like a
washed.
tsunami,
Yeah,
battering the
this was the road.
coastline.
What are these things? Is these drains out to the ocean or something? Anyway, this is only 15 seconds in, so I'll lead up to it. They look nice.
Buongiorno from our home in
Hi.
Sicily. A major devastating cyclone tore through the east coast of Sicily, destroying homes, businesses, and much more. Some of the roads are
It's like 3
completely
days
washed
ago.
down. It looks like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
war
right.
zone in some areas.
36 miles, around 100 kilometers from Messina all the way down the coast to Mazamani, destroyed
How come that guy sounds like he's from Brooklyn?
today. Old timers are telling us this is the worst storm in the last 50 years that
Wow.
hit Sicily.
Some of the footage is really eye-opening and devastating. Take a look at this when a boy and his parents returned to their home for the first time since the 2-day cyclone ripped through Sicily.
Wow. A little noisy.
Papà, una tragedia, papà.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it appears as though,
Look how tall
things
those
there.
doors are. Sorry, RJ, I stepped on you there. What?
Well, it appears it was initially built fairly well,
Yeah.
integrity wise, but yeah, you can only sustain so much abuse from what the Mediterranean was throwing at it. Um,
Yeah.
right.
Wow. So it's a star fort, baby.
Una
And
tragedia,
even
ragazzi, una
it,
tragedia.
look at the rocks that are laying in there. Where'd they come from? Did they get washed
Mamma,
up with the waves?
Yeah, if that was part of the breakwater out there at yeah,
finita.
who knows?
Ragazzi, è
I
finita.
doubt if they hauled that in.
Non abbiamo
That
la casa.
Wow. We don't have a house anymore. You do, buddy. You can fix it. It's going to last another 20 years. So that was interesting.
yeah, that made a mess.
Hourglasses are weird. I didn't even get a chance to look at this web page, but after I came up with that title, or like, they're like, I better look at a few. That's pretty nice. I guess this is how they used to tell time, RJ, because there has been some sort of progression, not evolution of history where people were like, we need to keep time. Okay, this seems like an hour. Let's make an hourglass. Let's make a 3-minute timer because that's how long you boil an egg. And believe me, if you do that, yummy. I don't know what this is. Oh, they got hour. They're showing that there's an hourglass there. When you
Yeah.
ever you're go to a nude party, if you bring the hourglass, you're the man or the girl. Okay. Well, it was what? Oh, that looks very Rosicrucian, doesn't it? Yep, yep. Time flies. That Rosicrucian. Anybody? Let's see here. There you go. You can tell time by the moon and the sun. That's weird. First Bible verse. Thief is not okay. So it's actually this is the Bible verse I wanted. Thief. You'd think it was used more than 14, 15 times. One who secretly or by stealth associates, appropriates what belongs with others. Not a lot in the Old Testament. 16. Huh. How'd I get, which one was I looking at? The master of the house thing. If the thief is not found, the owner of the house must appear before judges to determine whether he has taken his neighbor's property. That's some pretty fine points on the Bible law, isn't it? You know, it doesn't matter if it is a donkey, cheap article of clothing. Like right now, if your Crocs, your favorite comfortable shoe, goes missing, you're going to know it, right? You're going to be like, hey, it's not the most
Especially
expensive
if you
thing I have, but I want
inadvertently
my
stepped
shoe.
out of it or walked out of it. Yeah.
They don't walk off by their own. I'm sure you're going to go, Festus, where are my shoes? When the judges find guilty must pay back double. This is mine. Both parties bring their case. Must pay back double. I don't know if you're busy or not, but yesterday I had a little mental glitch, and then
So, if two individuals claim, that they both own the same article, Solomon was even suggested splitting it in two and sharing it.
right,
Huh?
and then you'll find the true mom, the one that said, "No, wait, Oh man. So I
There are,
will,
some
but
exceptions.
my mental slip, and it's still, I am blocked. I looked at, was rereading Exodus 19 through 22 so I could get the first introduction of the 10 commandments and all the case laws around that. Didn't find it. Went to Leviticus, 12 through 15. Tons of like, don't laws. But there's this one portion of scripture that says that if a man is caught stealing and he's an habitual thief, he has to pay that back 5 or 6 times. But if he's a man that's caught stealing and it finds out his family was starving, he only has to pay back 1-to-1 restitution. And I know I don't read the Apocrypha, so that's in scripture. And I know I don't remember things that aren't in scripture, but I couldn't find
Yeah,
it.
the circumstance adjusts, what the justice ought to be.
Right. And for me, I wanted to tie it into pretty soon normal people might be stealers. And the bad people are going to start, like, there's people I know in Texas that have talked a little bit too much about their silver stacking, and now I'm worried about that guy, even though he hates me. He's shot his mouth off too much about how much silver he has. And I think people pretty soon are going to start like killing people for food and their other stuff. Things are bad right now, RJ.
Yeah, some individuals will pay attention to that sort of information. And yeah, you also have I'm not saying it's advice, but if you're that desperate and you need to help yourself to someone else's goods, uh, do it to someone that may not miss it or be affected by it quite as much as some other poor individual that really doesn't have anything to share anyhow. So
I'm thinking that these people that, even if they don't know the Bible, but they naturally didn't do their gleanings and people could go to their fields and clean up and that he wouldn't say anything, they'll probably be okay. They're not going to be looked at as like, oh, good, no law around that guy. I can't wait to get my hands on him. I know, because there's been people that really have been that mad at me, and then out of the blue, it's like, you're doing this to me. Why? Check this out. Anyway, here's how I woke up. I'm going like, why am I watching this?
We might see in a park or next to a building or an entire building looking like this. And he's absolutely right that Antiquitech seems to be modeling these natural life forms. And again, this is new to me, and I have not seen.
That he's talking about, he saw this from Flat Earth British Sub. And Flat Earth British was Martin Leakey, and he was one of the guys that first I introduced to the mud flood, because he was showing pictures of the Civil War and thought it was fake. Man, he took off and he has subs that just talk about him and John Levy Hurd.
And we can see the means of modern repair, occasional plastering on the side of the brick, but not seeming like the prosperous people that built this city with this detail at one point. Domes every so often, spires everywhere. What was going on? Founded this city at the base of a mountain. So, really amazing. There we are.
He did lean a little Bible more at the time because, well, let's just face it. Flat Earth Nation, Golden Age past had worked the world into a frenzy at one time.
To get a look at Lake Winnipeg.
See it, so
And
it
here
was
another
this
little
was your
peek in older
introduction,
time
and then all of a sudden,
remnants now,
wow, the Manitoba thing.
or some kind of proof or confirmation of what we saw on the older maps. Civilization existing out here in what in modern times is very remote. And here is this amazing star fort or remains.
You know what caught my attention on this, and the main takeaway that I'm wanting people to get on this is that all of this information is basically brand new. This was fresh. Remember, the world was excited. They had never heard anything about, wow, it's a star fort, baby. You know, so they dug this out of the ground and we were all amazed. But now that's gone. It's all turned in. It's like the Republicans and Democrats want to argue about Atlantis or Bible, but the Bible is tainted with, by Bible, they mean the book of Enoch. You got anything on that, RJ?
Or yeah, that's a book to quote, or yeah.
Why are these wooden things still here? That's what the whole thing, you know, it's like we got everything on our mind. I got a whole other show here, but right now I'm thinking like, are those original too, or did they dig those out and they were part of the covered up old star fort or what? I don't know. It changes into the sand thing.
Of a star fort. In the case of the Statue of Liberty, I believe the base was 8 feet thick. Perhaps this is why they don't just destroy them completely. It would be very cumbersome. So, really amazing. And, you know, I just did this search on Reindeer Island. I put in ruins, Lake Winnipeg. Maybe that's not the best search. And here in Manitoba, this little vlog and this woman is exploring sites. And to me, this seeming like some very old block work.
It's a body
I'm not
part.
sure,
I'm
but it did just
body
keep
part
popping up in my
of a
search.
Titan.
And here I'm just going to jump topic for a quick moment. So the radiolaria.
They heard about this from me. I that sounds obnoxious to some people, I guess. But I did talk about this. I showed the sand before. People pick it up and it goes out. And again, I got 150 views and he got 134,000.
Also called radiozoa, are protozoas. Tiny, tiny little creatures with mineral skeletons and a central capsule dividing the cell and the elaborate mineral.
Usually made up of silica. Now, RJ, we had no idea when we were talking back then about it. We knew what silica was, but we didn't know that it was going to be the most important thing in the world. And then it was going to, and then lithium and now silver. But silica, Silicon Valley, it's a connection that has to be emphasized right there.
Skeleton is usually made of silica. And I found this really fascinating. Whereas when we all saw that video, No Forest, by the Russian video producer,
Do you remember There Are No Forests on Flat Earth video by a Russian guy, and it just boom, everybody was looking at it. And that's when the world became that the world had been mined and terraformed, and the introduction that it was all trees. That's been a part of my life 6, 7 years now, RJ. Battling that
Oh,
it's
yeah.
trees. I've shown that the petrified wood is actual. I used to know the word for it, but it's the cells of the nerves of muscles in the
we were introduced to the idea of a silica-based organ.
right. And they said this is a tree ring when it's obviously not. There's nothing about it except the outside looks like a tree stump. But that's not what a tree looks like. It's what body parts of a titan looks like.
Organism, being these massive trees.
Look at that guy.
And, you know, when we see the
Oh,
petrified...
that's Devil's Tower.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, isn't that supposed to be like an ankle bone coming out of the ground?
Yeah, ankle, and then it broke off there, or shin. Maybe it's upside down. I don't know, but we went to this park when I was with Noah, and you know, a lot of it.
In Arizona, these are not ordinary petrified
Well, we went to the one in
trees.
Oregon.
They have a almost jewel, semi-precious stone-like interior. And it said that these were from a
Oh man, I have this thing pulled up, so I think it's. I'm not even. I'll show it later when I remember the name. I'm going back to the video a little bit more.
era of, you can see here, they form many different patterns. And I originally saw this on a Flat Earth British sub video, as you can see here, and I'll leave the link below. And he was proposing whether these radiolarians were perhaps the blueprint for Antiquitech. And I think so. And again, do check out his video. But I'll give you a little peek. I mean, here he was showing, just to give you an example of one of these radio.
When he showed this, I don't know if I remembered it from 6.5, 7 years ago, but they're like, yep, Roman Colosseum found hollowed out. I don't know.
Larians.
Modeled after.
Their forms can vary. They're silica skeletons. And this one really resembling a Colosseum, in which he shows here. Just amazing. And then there were some others that really resembled symbols that we would see in...
I'm sorry, I'm getting too sucked into that melodious piano. This is my stupid AI algorithm. Let's see what we got. It's going to just be tons of, Erica Kirk. This guy, Acts 15, because I've been studying that. They're trying to shove down their Jewish version of it to me now because they don't like my version. Hey, Amish grow crops without pesticides. That's something I might want to check out. But you sent me a video, so I wanted to look at it. And I'm there like, I'm going to start with this part.
The first half of Job 26:7 reads, "He stretcheth out the north over the empty place." The phrase empty place uses the Hebrew tohu. the same word used in Genesis chapter 1 verse 2. And the earth was without form, tohu, and void. This immediately links Job 26 back to the creation account.
I don't know why Joe Biden. I don't know why he popped into my mind and thought that he should be called Tohu, because I don't like to pick on politicians, but honestly, I have to be honest with what I think. Tohu. Got anything, RJ?
Well, it's not new news to me.
Yeah, you pound this, and the earth without form or shape, Tohu, void. It is kind of mysterious. How many? I mean, the Lord told Moses, we're going to start, this is how he tested Moses. I'm going to start over with just you. Oh no, somebody might hear that they might get the misimpression that you can't do it with these knuckleheads that I'm dealing with.
Stiff-necked, certainly.
Our scriptural witnesses are Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, where we have tohu preceding order. In Isaiah 40:22, it says that God stretches out the heavens like a curtain. In Psalm 104:2, where it says God stretches out the heavens like a tent. Job is
or something from somewhere exploded, and then all of this happened. So you're saying we should just go with this? You like this?
I do.
I do too. It's better than nothing from nothing makes chaos.
is describing ordering imposed over top of chaos, not expansion into emptiness.
Look, he's got the
now,
water
what do we
by
make
the
of the north? The reference to the north fits a consistent biblical pattern.
Man, in the north, I know. Hey, you, me, RJ, and everybody else. The north is confusing, especially with the maps that used to say the north was the south. Yeah, I get it. It's confusing.
Psalm 48:2 says, the sides of the north are associated with God's dwelling. In Isaiah 14:13, the throne is at the Mount of Assembly in the sides of the north. The north is not presented as a random direction, but as orientation associated with authority and elevation, the throne of God. Skipping ahead to Job 26:9, it says,
RJ, I just want to give the example that I really don't know anything about that situation, but I do know right now that if I'm trapped in an avalanche and I want to live, I should spit and see which way the spit goes, and then I know which way is up. I know that.
Well, or like underwater, if you look, you follow your bubbles to the top. But where's north? Well, it's under the throne. The throne is somewhere in that virginity.
Yeah. I like the bubble one in the water because that's better than my example, and it's much more easy because most people have not been trained to survive an avalanche, but almost everybody's been underwater. Not your financial. I'm not caring about what's in their wallet, RJ.
He holdeth back the face of his throne and spreadeth his cloud upon it. The verse does not deny the throne, it affirms it. Psalm 11:4 says, Yahweh's throne is in heaven. Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 26, we have the throne above the firmament. In Isaiah chapter 6 verses 1 through 4, we see the throne.
The depiction of the Most High is that it's a human. Instead of that, it's a spirit that's everywhere, knowing everything, and powerful enough to make it happen. Instead, they got a picture of a man.
Is
spirit veiled in
obscure.
flesh.
The emphasis is not the distance, but concealment. God's throne is there, but veiled. This aligns with the firmament separating realms in Genesis chapter 1. If God's dwelling is at his throne, and if the throne sits upon the firmament, and the throne is associated with the north,
that looks like
then it wouldn't be unreasonable to speculate that the north being stretched over the empty place could be the firmament in heavens being stretched over the face of the earth and chaotic waters in Genesis
Something,
chapter 1.
something weird happening with that dividing the water, hanging upon nothing, and then all of a sudden there's a new thing that God made called dry ground. Wow. Oh, getting excited, anybody? Hangeth on nothing.
Now, let's examine the second half of Job 26. And hangeth the earth upon nothing. The Hebrew phrase belima literally means without anything or not anything. Beli, without or lacking, and ma, what or anything. This describes absence.
I'm going to want to go over this more in detail, but the whole thing of faith, I mean, we saw the quote from RJ. You know, this is justification by faith. What people don't like is that some people are given faith. It's one of those things, and I'm reminded again of how, you know, I need to pound, I guess, because the 3 R's of modern education are repetition, reiteration, and redundancy. The secret things. There are secret things that belong to the Most High God. We're not accountable to understand them. The things that are revealed to us are what we go with. RJ, are you there?
Yeah, I'm hearing.
Because am I
Because
dragging this out too much?
no, you know what Job. Well, you want in a
26.
yeah, well, in a synopsis type way, but you know, later on in the book of Job, you also have God recorded and how he
Right, right. I
addresses.
was wondering why,
Uh,
you know, he was doing 26 instead of, you know, like Job 46 or 49, you know.
well, uh, as well as 37. I'm trying to, but in 38, what the chapter 38 of Job um, begins. Then the Lord answered Job out of the storm, and then it was quite a dialogue
Whirlwind, yeah.
of you know 38:4. Where were you? When the foundations of the earth were laid by the Creator, and how you understand that, and how the measurements were determined, stretching a measuring line over it, which implies a plane, and the sockets of its, pillars, the corner, while the morning stars sang, all that. And then it's hard to say, when sometime, probably after that was being done, when did Satan rebel? Um, we know it happened.
After walking on the fiery stones, we can guarantee that.
But as far as the biblical timeline, the beginning, and how things were created, and chronologically, um,
Yep.
yeah, the
Biblically chronological.
Genesis 1 is by no means,
The
from
only
the vantage
beginning.
point of before
Holy
God
cow!
even
Now
thought
you're
about
doing
what he
it,
was
man.
doing.
We're going deep here. Go, man. Genesis 1 was what?
See, there could have already been a judgment um, reset happening at that specific moment and on the biblical timeline um, is all I'm suggesting.
And then what I'm hearing is the possibility of in this beginning,
Oh, correct. The Adam and
because
Eve story and how that
yes,
uh, happens from that point
physical world is
on
new.
on the
Physical
line.
world was not, there was no most high spirit God dealing with the creation already. Let him think about that.
Well, not only dealing with, but had been dealt. Yeah, speculating, but we know what's been revealed. So, yeah, piecing a puzzle. Right.
These guys, man. Here's my
At Göbekli
algorithm.
Tepe in southeastern Turkey, archaeologists have spent decades convinced they had uncovered humanity's
Look at that one. This one is a secret. So's this one. He's going to reveal it later.
first temple, built nearly 12,000 years ago by Stone Age hunter-gatherers.
Now, how'd they find that one? You know, because Göbekli Tepe. I keep forgetting that it relatively is one of the new. Hey, look at this! But all mountains seem to be hollowed out. RJ, it's not that they were this; it's that people did this to it and built these monuments in the. See, mountains are the body parts of titans. You can dig tunnels through them because the veins and the arteries are still there, washed out as sand. The life was in the blood. I showed examples of that. Blah, 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 blah. So you basically are cleaning out compartments that were body parts, fixing them up, living them, leaving some sort of like the pictographs. When they show a picture of this and that on the other thing, it's not only the picture, it's where it is on the body part rock. They're emphasizing the way they had to get out of the way to say, oh, here it is. This is this. This is this part, body part.
Built nearly 12,000 years ago by Stone Age hunter-gatherers.
They were cleaned out by Stone Age hunter gatherers that were probably smarter than you and me to combined.
Radiocarbon numbers and famed experts cemented this extraordinary claim.
Everything's been a restoration clean out.
Layer inconsistencies, unexplained erosion, and repeating patterns that don't fit the story we've been told.
When David conquered that city that had always been there, he said, now it's called Glory to God Town, and clean it up, would you? I need this thing fixed up. Oh, you need money? Well, let me go get it from the Hittites.
The biggest secret of Göbekli Tepe has gone unnoticed all this time.
At least I think
what does that
funny.
mean for everything we think we know about the birth of civilization?
Entertaining.
The answer, we need to start with the timeline everyone believes.
Blah, blah. Was that loud enough? I want to hear a little more of it because now it's got my interest.
Well, you can always hit the closed caption.
Yeah, this is my algorithm provided this, and I have 20 minutes and only 15 more minutes of info.
The screen hints at a secret written into the very ground. A design too consistent to be accidental.
That's a star fort, baby.
And too ambitious to have come together by chance.
That's that guy's hands, and he's holding that belt. He's got a head, but the other ones are covered up.
Moving a 20-ton pillar across rough limestone slopes demands more than determination. It requires planning, coordination, and a steady supply of hands.
Whatever. Or you could do it like I would do it in my dreams. I'd drop kick them into place. So these are some of those funny things that I think wash off to make sand. I thought I got to go to class. And so I thought I'd show some rare stones. And this stuff here, proxenite, when it dusts off, that's the shiny green thing is the mineral. It's like a dusty thing. And when it goes, I think it's sand, some of it. So there's that one. Look at this weird one. This too. Paradolite.
Hey, fighting fire with fire, like if you sandblast it.
Yeah,
Is that
exactly. It basically is, if you're let's just hypothetically, for a joke, say that if you're one of the families from the synagogue of Satan that have been given information on how to market and make slaves, you could own a diamond mine and sell them for high prices. But if you're a black person in the next country over and you have an article that is equally as hard and shiny, they could call it zircon. And you know what they'll tell you? It's good for crushing up and using for sandpaper and abrasives. It's worth $1,000 a ton, whereas their rings are worth $1,000 for carat or some, for purity. So yeah, that's sand, everybody. I think
yeah? Until a country comes along and can produce them synthetically, or even better quality, in crash what otherwise was a very profitable, market.
So doesn't that look like that? And is the matrix is the rock that it grows on. RJ, I don't know if the people are reminded enough that once you become a Christian, you are now what's called a living stone. My sister was kind of a thing. I've told you about how I lived in the shadow of what everybody was always constantly amazed. Was the most
Yeah, not
beautiful, the most
totally,
beautiful
but
girl in 3 counties, and smart. And my dad gave her a book. It whipped her into a frenzy, and she started protesting Abraham Lincoln in our high school, and this got her some newspaper coverage. It's what let her end up being, the principal and the superintendent and shit of where we used to live. But it was like reading this guy. The Lord put this on my mind. Remember Carl Sandburg? I'm like, kinda, my sister again. But and this guy up from the milkman, he was a milkman, but he wrote a poem that said Chicago had big shoulders. And so enough of that. How about 3 Pulitzer Prizes stretched out from 1919 to 1951? Have you ever heard of this guy, RJ?
I'm not familiar with them.
It's
Maybe I
crazy because he
recognize.
settled that he made West out of all the places in the world that he had been. He basically lived
He
where
wanted to be near the breweries, eh?
I guess,
Yeah.
but it was all about it.
Well,
And then when
no.
he died, he didn't want a tombstone. He just wanted no, put this body part there. So it looks like part of a kidney, but I can't be sure because I'd have to look at the back.
Yeah.
Rutabaga stories, so I guess he wrote everything, but this is the one that somehow exposed that Abraham Lincoln didn't do habeas corpus, whipped my sister into a frenzy. I remember going to the school board meetings, and our town only had 800 people. And our school only had 200 students, our high school, in 3 towns to make that school.
Yeah.
Jeez, my 5th grade was 3-room school, 4th, 5th, and 6th in one
And you're
grade.
talking at a time when, large families were,
Oh,
everywhere.
geez, right. Everybody thought my
Yeah,
dad was
it
like,
wasn't,
"What? You only have 4
one,
kids?"
not one or, single child family. No, half dozen minimum, dozen, 8, yeah, large.
I told you I saw that statistics the other night. In 1970, 25% of the women worked. By 1980, it's 75% of the women had a second job.
Yep.
This is the one that, I thought I'd never read this one. Wilson, he was another one like Trump. campaigned on one thing, changed his mind. The world went with his 10 points of protective freedom, or 15. But then when he brought it back to Congress, they said, nope. And even they couldn't override, he vetoed it. They overrode it and said, nope, we're not joining the League of Nations. So, but this new freedom, so now he had like a new deal. FDR had a new deal. Kennedy had a new deal. It's all going back to the same thing, man. Right around 1919, 1913, Creature from Jekyll Island. You see, all you have to say is Creature from Jekyll Island, and the people that know, they know.
Oh yeah.
I
After
get,
the sinking of the gigantic Titanic.
how'd you like? This isn't Anthony Weiner, it's Tim Weiner, but he used to work for the CIA, and allegedly, and I think everything's new after World War II, but allegedly after World War II, they started smuggling drugs, RJ. Who would have knew it? Because it's easy money.
In a minute, I need to go start my other clock. So when I walk away, that's what I'm.
All right, I'm going to break it down here. I'm just going to tell them that this golden triangle, this is always from the end of the golden age when things went bad. People were using heroin in China because they didn't have enough silver left in England to buy anything good. All the good things came from China, and they couldn't produce them themselves. China only took silver as payment. The English, a corporation, started, offering bribes. Give us some of this and we'll give you heroin. They addicted a country. Now, the Clinton Lewinsky scandal, from the drug running, the implications of Reagan, covered that last night, Barry Seal, along with everything else. It was the president of the United States, who is still out there because, he hung out with Epstein, which, yeah, those guys are bad, but they're only showing he liked 15-year-old girls up to 25 and picked the best and taught them how to fly jets and marry presidents. And, they did it. And one of them who hang out with them, whose real name, do you remember Bill Clinton's real name?
Slick Willie?
No, William Jefferson Bly.
Okay.
He changed it to Clinton because he didn't want to be associated with his mom, who was an ex-prostitute, who was the favorite prostitute of, at that point in history, one of the Rockefellers moved from New York to be the governor of Arkansas. Is supposedly knocked up. That's a rumor. That's a rumor. But he got away with it, and he's still part of public life. And to very many people, he's the hero that last balanced the United States budget. In the deposition, Clinton's lawyer had quoted Lewinsky's statement that there is absolutely no sex of any kind in any manner, shape, or form with President Clinton. Clinton later defended this as true. It depends on what the meaning of the word is. So, RJ, I lean on you. I feel like I'm the prophet and you're the Aaron, the Moses kind of type of situation. My big brother, what is the meaning of the word is?
Yeah. How do you use it, when you speak it? Yeah.
When you tell a lie and you said, oh, no, there's absolutely no sex between us. But then all of a sudden it's like, look, we got the DNA, man. His DNA is on your dress. Hey.
Oh, yeah. You're referring to the president. right?
And he goes like, we didn't have sex. Well, is it? He said, if is means she is and never has been, that is not. That is one thing. If it means there is none, that it was a completely true statement, X'd out parentheses. Now, if someone had asked me on that day, are you having any kind of sexual relation with Miss Lewinsky? That is, asked me a question in the present tense, I would have said no, and it would have been completely true.
In
Because,
his mind, I
well,
think he,
no, at that time when the man asked, are you having sex with Monica Lewinsky? He could say, in his mind, he'd say, no, I'm standing here talking to you.
sure.
So I'm not having sex with Monica Lewinsky. If you would say,
In
have
that,
you ever
yeah.
had, they didn't ask him the right question, and that worked for him. That worked for him. In his
And
hometown,
now you know the rest of the story.
and if two people, a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old, in the mid 80s,
Oh yeah, I recall that. Yeah, when they're
decided to go out into the woods and smoke a little weed.
in that, yeah. Um, well, the timing, a coinkydink, and then with the drug trafficking happening,
And it finds out
the,
later a
and the
corrupt,
logistics
sadistic attorney was out with
distribution.
his crew helping the mafia bury bodies and hide drugs, and these two children saw it. Well, they killed them and then let a train run over their dead bodies. And
Yeah,
then when the parents wanted to find out what really happened and never gave up, it took 12, 15 years to prove the guy that was supposed to be helping them killed their children. And it was in Mena, Arkansas, because that's where Barry Seal and the president of the United States was smuggling in crack to fund
yeah.
drug deals.
I watched that lengthy documentary on all of that. I'm familiar with the details that they presented in the documentary about all of that. Yeah.
And you kind of lean towards thinking that the president was kind of in on it, but we're just kidding in a way. Remember this?
Yep. Yeah.
We got faith. Some people have faith. Some people's eyes are open. Their ears can hear the truth. And other people, when we tell them the truth, they hate our guts. And some
Yeah.
people, some people fall away and go to Rome.
Yeah. But what isn't implied here is, the faith thing and, show me your faith, which does, has nothing about, faith is sort of, generic uh, explanation. But yeah, it should be uh, that simple. What do you do with your faith is what it amounts to, or the faith given you. What do you do with that faith?
Scott Hahn. I know Kurt Bennett and Jill Bennett went to his Bible study in the 1970s. They in the 80s or early 80s maybe, and they were telling me about how he slowly converted to Rome when they had started as a reformed Bible study, and it was this guy that did it. And somehow, let me see. Now they have a button here. You can hit this button. I'll be able to go back and see everything I was watching here. Not that one. Not that one. There was the guy that.
Council of Trent in the 16th century, Vatican I in the late 19th, justification by faith alone. She denied the gospel and ceased to be a legitimate church, regardless of all the rest of her affirmations of Christian orthodoxy. This quote from the late Dr. R.C. Sproul, like I said, was practically canonical for me for 34 years. This is what I believed happened at the Council of Trent. Until
It's like looking in a mirror.
that is, I actually read the decrees of the Council of Trent, particularly on the doctrine of justification, just a few years ago as I was making my way back home to the Catholic Church.
Ah, okay. Well, that's not me.
And since then, my interest.
I can't imagine abandoning what I believe now
Truth?
and going and saying, you know what? Hail Mary, full of grace. What?
Yeah. Yeehaw.
And the Council of Trent has grown and continued. So just recently, I picked up a copy of a book that I want to recommend to you, and I want to spend the next few minutes discussing some of the things in this book. It's a book that in 2013 won the American Catholic Historical Association's prize for best book. It's by Father
I wonder what the competition was.
Catholic Archbishop of Canterbury and Cardinal Charles de Guise of.
Did you see that mud flood situation at the end of the Golden Age when they were trying to justify their situation? Honestly, it's a mud flood building. They're doing their thing in real time, deciding, okay, well, should we simply cut this man's head off and be merciful, or should we fillet him and burn him?
And this is an artist's rendition.
Drawn at the time, J 1692 or something like that. I can't read it. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's fake. I think they were trying to decide whether, like John Calvin, look, this guy that believes in the Trinity, I think we should cut his head off. And everybody else is going, hell no, we're burning him alive.
Well, yeah, and some they'd be hung, and then after they're hung, they'd be drawn, quartered, and
yeah,
balls removed, whatever.
Yep, there was no end to it.
Make most of an afternoon out of it.
Someone like you, if you were John Wycliffe type, or more known, and we were more credible theologians, they dug up his bones after 1,000 years and decided to burn them. Because it wasn't enough that he was the memory persisted. Or
who came up with that idea? Yeah.
Pope, or somebody gave the idea to the Pope.
And a Cardinal Serapando, Reginald Pole, who was the last Catholic Archbishop of Canterbury, and Cardinal Charles.
Oh, I said 16. It's 15.
Of France, who played an incredibly important role in the council. In fact, may have saved it. Now, there's lots of cliches, both by, as we've seen, by Reformation-minded Protestants as well as Catholics regarding the Council of Trent. So
I can't do too much of this. I certainly do admire his comfy-looking clothes.
Which leads him to despair and an inability of Luther to feel like he was in a state of grace. And this is very.
How do you not? I mean, how does he know that? Did Luther say somewhere? I mean, you know more about Luther. Did he say somewhere? I know that I'm justified by faith, but sometimes I don't feel like I'm justified by faith.
Well, I think it was a time in his life earlier on when he was, not treating his body very well. it's difficult
Yeah.
to describe what he was feeling or going through, and how that was manifesting. As far as getting on board, with the three persons thing,
Much
Trinity.
state of mind.
Oops. One of the weirdest quotes I ever read from Luther was he was complaining about some of his frequent issues. And he says, now I'm going through a stage that if I farted in Dusseldorf, they would hear it in Berlin. He said something. It was something like that. I don't think I got the towns right.
Yeah, whatever it's
Can't-
implying.
Yeah.
In the state of grace. So he's looking for another means of feeling like
That's it. That's it. I'm going to have to wrap it up because I'm going to, I don't think this is coarse jesting, but I one time was in a situation where I just happened to have a second or two and I glanced to my left and I saw something written and it said, here I sit brokenhearted, came to
Yeah.
shit, but only farted.
Yeah.
So I understand Luther and I try to understand everybody where they're at right now. I didn't know going forward that once you were elected, you had to ask such a specific question that your friends could get you off by saying, I really thought he was asking if, while I was talking to him, I was having sex with Monica Lewinsky at that time.
In his mind, and he wasn't. Yeah, when it comes to disappointments, they come in all sorts of sizes, shapes, and that's just a variation of disappointments. Whether you come to sit and something does or doesn't happen at all, could be a disappointment. Yeah, and maybe not, But yeah,
a lot of
challenges.
the hot air coming over the YouTube from people trying to either make this a Republican or Democrat issue
Yeah,
is nothing but, a
a
burp,
bunch of
a hot
crap.
air that's
Yeah.
coming from something that has been fermenting. I guess I just want to simply say, remember, everybody, when you go forward as a temple of the living God, as a living stone, understanding from the scripture that from before the foundation of the earth, you've been given talents. Let's say that you're a 5 for 5, you're a 100-fold Christian, you're supposed to earn 5 more. And then Jesus will say, you've met the bare minimum. So from before the foundation of the world, you've been given talents as a seed in soil to do works for God to glorify his name after you've been saved by been given grace or faith. As a living temple, you build up gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, or stubble. And it depends on how you work. You're not saved by those works. You're saved by the grace. Anything you want to add, RJ?
Yeah, yeah. As far as complicating or mudding waters, yeah, it's a process, and everyone's on their own terms with the shared creator, the one and only. So yeah, it I believe it should be approached in a serious manner, no doubt.
Clip it there, StreamYard. It's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past because the mud flood was Armageddon. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else because we are called, chosen, faithful to have your best interest in heart. And that drives you to your knees, seemingly of your own free will, knowing I've been saved. I believe the blood of Jesus Christ has washed away my sins. And now I'm going to confess it with my mouth and do my best to live it. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakamen. Adios, amigos. Sometimes I'm going to do that and try to use, instead of like the actually how they would pronounce it, try to pronounce like an Espanol, go, Auf Wiedersehen, or something like that.